Welcome to the Habit Based Podcast. And today we have the lovely Vanessa joining us. Now, Vanessa and I have actually been working together as I'm going to say almost 2 years, even though it's like a year and a half. And she is an absolute ray of sunshine in my life. But more importantly, I really wanted to bring Vanessa on because I know so many of you gals are really going to relate to her. When Vanessa first started, she was doing everything in capital letters, everything. She was up at 4 a.m. on the bike, doing Pilates, boxing, strength training, you name it, she was doing it. And there was just so much going on, especially around movement. And despite all that effort, it still felt like the results weren't really matching what she was putting in. Now, what's been really incredible to watch is how her journey has evolved in honestly so many ways. And I'm so excited to go into all the things. But Vanessa has gone from constantly feeling like she needs to do more to actually doing a lot less, but in a way that's helped her improve her relationship with food, her body, her movement, and herself just as a whole. And honestly, she's absolutely thriving. So today we're going to chat through her journey, the mindset shift that changed everything, the challenges along the way, and just really what life looks like for her now. So let's get things started. So Vanessa, do you want to give yourself like a wee introduction?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, Claire. It's an honor to be here. So my name's Vanessa Aladag. I live in Cape Town, South Africa, and I have two boys, 17 and almost 15, and I'm happily married now for 20 years. And I'm 51, almost 52. And that's more or less me.
And I love it. And with fabulous hair for today. Well,
Thank you.
always.
Thank you.
But no, that's a great introduction. And as I say, like this, can I say like already this is going to be a great podcast, mainly because I just love our chats and I know it's going to be fantastic. But we are going to
Thank
kick
you.
off at the beginning and just start at the start, really. And just, I want to know a bit more about you. I know I kind of introduced it in the beginning, but I would really like you to just kind of tell everyone, like, before we even started to work together, how would you describe your relationship with your body, your movement, food, just everything, basically?
Okay. Before I met you, I was a complete different person. Y'all should know that I am actually a health coach in integrative nutrition. So I've helped a lot of people. I used to have my own practice in Switzerland where I lived before living here. And I was just not doing the right things for myself. I was doing, like Claire said before, like you said, I was doing too much. I was punishing myself about everything, about food, about exercise, about just self-image. I had this very low self-esteem when it came to, I mean, I had gotten much better than when I was little, but I was still struggling very much with my body image and with my sense of worth. And then when I met you, things started to change. For a while, for a while, I was still punishing myself a lot, uh, thinking that I was actually taking care of myself, but it was just basically punishment masked in self care, which really wasn't what I was. I wasn't caring for myself. I was actually doing a lot of harm physically, and I think also emotionally.
Absolutely. And it's just like you said there. I think a lot of women get it wrong. I would even put myself in that category where when you're trying to do things to care for yourself, sometimes the information you have isn't quite correct. So it comes from a place of punishment, even though you're just trying to be healthy. You're just trying to look after yourself. You're trying to do what everyone is telling you to do. But then you suddenly realize actually it's a little bit punishing.
No, 100%. That's what I was doing. And if I wasn't doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, it was again like, oh, you're worthless, and you're not treating yourself properly, and you should be uh, being intuitive about the way you eat, and you should be, Let's not even go into that intuition part right now. But it was all I was just putting so many demands on myself, and that's when I reached out to you because I just needed help. I needed someone to treat me like I treated my clients, really, and show me the way.
Isn't it mad as well how I think a lot of us are guilty of it, whereby we can help people, but sometimes we just can't help ourselves. And it's one thing I love to say to women is, by the end of your time working together, I want you to treat your body like your friend, because
Yeah.
we almost treat our bodies like our worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah.
And if we're not doing what our expectation, or not meeting our own expectation, we failed, you're the worst, you're this, you're that. And we put so
Exactly.
much pressure on ourselves when in fact, like, would we treat a friend like that? Absolutely not.
Never, never. We would never treat a friend like that. We would never treat, I always used to say this to my clients. If your kid, when your child starts to learn how to walk and he stumbles, he falls, he can't really get it right, you don't turn to him and say, "Oh, you're useless. Just get up. Can't you just do one thing right?" No. You turn around and you're kind and you're compassionate, say, "Yeah, you can do this." You cheer him on. So why do we have to treat ourselves with so much,
Yeah.
just so badly? It's with so much almost despise, and I don't get that. I do get it, but I don't understand why we do so much of it.
Do you think it's a little bit around that health, it should be easy? A lot of us, I think, have this feeling that, well, health should be easy. I know how to eat. I'm this age. I should know how to move. Therefore, that's why we put quite a lot of pressure on ourselves, because you should know how to do this. You should know how to do this. And we're not doing it. That's why we talk so badly to ourselves.
Oh, 100%. And people also, I don't know about what you think, but also are the our surroundings, right? So you might have friends that say, "Oh, but it's not that hard. Eating properly is not that difficult." Or, "Oh, I don't understand food chat," or, "Oh, I don't understand emotional eating." In the meantime, they're just chugging down glasses of wine, right? And so you think to yourself, but wait, I'm a really sensitive person. So what people think, not people, but what friends and family think is important to me. And I take that into consideration. And I should have really just listened to my husband most of the time, because he kept on saying, "Oh, you're great. You're perfect. You're so strong. You're so good. You're so this, you're so that." And no, I would only like absorb the bad vibes coming towards me. And I think also, to be honest, with social media, things have changed a lot as well. Like, we follow all these people and we think that, how many people do I follow? Well, not anymore, but did I follow thinking they had, the answer to everything? And what do they know? Why would they know more than me just because they have a good filter and a good camera that takes good pictures of them training? I mean, seriously, come on. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I think a lot of us fall victim to that, though. Social
yeah,
media, the amount of people I talk to and say, like, create your own social media. If something is making you think negatively about yourself, we need
yeah,
to get rid of it. But I think we're still in this newness of Instagram, TikTok, all these things,
yeah,
that it's so quick to be reactive rather than take a step back and respond to Instagram and say, oh, well, that girl actually maybe has filters, that maybe girl actually does this. And I also think sometimes on Instagram, like, how many people actually practice what they preach?
yeah,
There's a lot of them who are there for the gram and posting these
of
photos,
course.
but you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So then you're almost comparing yourself to someone that doesn't exist. And now we're in the phase of AI. So there's AI influencers.
Oh,
They
yes,
don't even exist. And we're making ourselves
exactly.
feel bad around it. So isn't that sometimes a horrendous
It's,
place to be?
it's horrendous. It's horrendous. I agree with you 100%.
And I
And
think we can.
so
Sorry, you go.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just rudely cutting in. I was about to say, and probably you can see why you treated yourself the way you did in the beginning, why you did so much, why you felt that way, because of all these external factors.
100%. And also, you have to see, just a bit back, going back to my past and who I am. Actually, I can't really explain who I mean, this is a Habit Hive podcast, so this is the real deal. I can't explain who I am without talking a tiny bit about my past and about my childhood. I grew up being bullied in school when I used to live in Argentina. I lived all over South America, but I lived in Argentina for a while, and it was the worst 3 years of my life. I was bullied for 3 years. I was little. I was between the ages of 6 and 9, and because I was, quote unquote, sorry, fat. And I wasn't. When I look at baby pictures or small pictures of me as a small girl, I wasn't. I was maybe a little chubby, but I really was not an overweight child. And I was really bullied. I also had a really strict dad I mean, he was a very kind guy, but he wanted the best thing for me. And he thought that by saying, you shouldn't eat, or you are fat, or you are overweight, or look at that tummy, he was going to make me change. And then,
Mhm.
so very quickly, I mean, I don't know, maybe not before I was 18, but very quickly I started doing all kinds of diets. And I would take over the counter medication. I remember I would buy this medication in the States over the counter, and it would give me like tachycardia. And I would like, it doesn't matter, it's going to make me thin. I would do these diets where I would lose 10 kilos and I would put on 12, then I would lose another 18. And then, and it was all the time like that. And I really messed up my metabolism and all that. And the last one I did was when I was living in Switzerland 10 years ago. I did this diet that was like a complete calorie cut. It was zero sugar, but I wasn't even allowed to eat tomatoes. I wasn't allowed to eat corn. Not even heart of palm. I remember that was such a random thing. She's like, do not eat heart of palm because you will gain weight. And then another thing she would say is, for sure, last thing you want to do is exercise because it'll make you hungry. So I lost like 14 kilos in 3 months, and I was looking horrible, but I had finally reached the weight that I thought I had to. So basically, all this to tell you is I screwed myself up completely all my life with fad diets, with quick fixes, with bad self image, with bad messages. And then you put on top of that Instagram and social media. And so it's a recipe for disaster. So along came Claire to save me.
Oh, well, thank you for being so honest there. And I guess it maybe
That's
leads
true.
into you telling us then a little bit about how is this approach different to what you've done before?
Well, I felt seen. All of a sudden, I didn't have someone telling me, okay, well, you want to lose 10 kilos? Fine. Well, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to get there. It was more like, wait, who are you? What do you need? What is your life like? How are you feeling emotionally about things? I remember how many times we had calls and I had just had either some bad news or some sort of crisis with one of my sons or with my husband and us. And you were like a friend there talking to me. And that's what I needed. I needed someone to see me for the person I was, not the person I wanted to become. And so that's what changed everything. And and all of a sudden I'll remember, like if it was yesterday, about a year ago,
Yes.
I told you, well, I don't know if we're talking about this already, but how I was doing so much exercise, so much exercise. Even when we started, the two of us, for about a year almost, I was not a year, but maybe 6 months, I kept on going and going and going. And I have to do more. I have to do more. And on top of the boxing, the Pilates, the strength training, which I was thinking about this yesterday. The strength training was the least consistent thing because it's the
Yeah.
thing that I hated the most.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
I would tell myself it's okay if you don't do strength training because you're doing the boxing and you're doing the Pilates and you're doing the Peloton bike, so you're doing enough. And I remember asking you, Claire, boxing surely counts for weightlifting, right? And you're like, nope. I
Oh.
said, yeah, but he makes me lift weights. He goes, yeah, nope, not the same. And I was just kept on saying, it doesn't matter, I have to go, I have to go. And in my weird craziness, I thought I have to walk 12, 15, 13,000 steps minimum every day. If not, I'm not enough.
Mhm.
Until one day I hurt, I hurt my back, I hurt everything. And I thought, okay, something's got to change. Like about exercise, I'm talking. My mental, my way of thinking about food and about myself had already started to change. But the punishment that I would induce on myself through exercise, I had to actually really get hurt to change.
Absolutely. And I think, as a coach, I will always suggest the best options of where to go.
Of
But
course,
sometimes we need to be convinced and we have to trust. And that's the toughest part because if we've lived a particular way for so long, it's very difficult to just jump on and believe this person, like, come on, strength
of
training is
course,
like the
of
best
course,
thing. And equally as well, you fully thought when you were doing this that you, as you just pointed out there, you said like your self-worth was dependent on it. That was really guiding it. And I think this kind of maybe even flips into a little bit about rules around exercise that we don't even realize that we have, like I need to hit this, otherwise I'm going to feel horrendous. And exercise should never be something that if we don't do it, we feel a particular way. We should want to do it because it makes us feel incredible. We should be moving to feel good. And I think sometimes as women, we really try and convince ourselves in our heads that oh, I'm doing it because I feel really good. But then it's like, but I'm burnt out. I'm absolutely starving. If I don't hit it, I feel guilty for days, you know, and that's not a healthy relationship with exercise. That's, as you pointed out, a place of punishment. And I think sometimes it does take something quite serious to happen
Yeah.
for that kind of realization. And I think that when, as you said, when you hurt your back, there was no option. You know, it
Mm-mm.
wasn't there anymore. You couldn't do what you wanted to do. And I honestly think it was the best thing in a weird way
Oh,
that you could
100%.
do.
100%. I was actually thinking about this just now. I think that what I was doing when I was doing so much was a punishment, but I also, there was two things that I was doing. You see, I don't work here in Cape Town. It's been 4 years that we're living here. I don't work. I mean, I do. I, like I told my son yesterday, I work all the time because I take care of the kids. I just don't get paid for it. But um, what? So I think that the because it was taking a lot of time to do so much exercise. I was exercising easily 2 hours a day, if not more. And I think that it was a way of, how do you say, justifying the 2 hours spent on exercising. I kept on telling, I think that I told myself, if it's not really hard, if I'm not pushing to the point where I'm killing myself, then how do I explain to the society or to my husband that, if it's not hard work, then what? Then how do I justify 2 hours of self-care? And so it was really twisted in my mind, you know? And also I realized that I was exercising because I was convinced that that's how I was going to lose all the weight, and I was going to get really like muscular and toned and all. And the difference is that now that's not why I exercise.
Yeah.
I exercise to be strong. I exercise because when I'm 80 years old, I want to play basketball with my son or my grandsons. I exercise because I don't want to fall and break my hip. I don't, I exercise because it makes my mental health be more, I feel more stable mentally.
Mhm.
I don't exercise anymore to lose weight. I don't exercise to, oh, if I burn all these calories, then I'll have, more calories to eat. It's just I've shifted all that because I just I couldn't continue the way I was. It had to change.
That's it. And I think exactly, I think you nailed it on the head here. And I wonder how many women are listening going, oh my God, that's the exact reason why I work out right now, because I want to lose weight. I want to hit that goal. I want to be there rather than actually looking at the positive. That's normally why we hate exercise so much. It's because we're doing it for all the wrong reasons. When in fact, you learn to love it. It's so freaking good and you have a great time with it. And as you said, look, when it changed from punishing to movement as medicine. And that's, I think, what you
Yeah,
started to know is actually it's great for my mental health. It's great for my
yeah,
well-being. It's about longevity. Isn't it mad that I think that we live in a world where we're not thinking about our older selves, we're just thinking about ourselves in the moment rather than thinking
exactly.
where we want to be. And over exercising in the end can be detrimental in the long
A
term as
hundred
well.
percent.
We want to find that comfortable place, you know, and that balancing place. And I think it's lovely, lovely to see you there. And I guess like with movement being that medicine, being for your mental health, do you enjoy it more now?
I enjoy it much more because I'm also much more present. And what I do, for example, now when I get on the Peloton, and whether I'm going to do a, like you said the other day, oh, I don't feel like it, but I'll just get on and do a 30-minute Ali Love class, because a feel good class, because that's what it happens. You end up feeling good. Now I always put my phone on do not disturb, or I take my phone away, because I tell myself I'm here for myself. I'm here to enjoy what I'm going to do. And I don't want any distractions. I don't want someone ringing the bell. I don't want any kind of distractions, because I'm doing this for myself because it feels so good. And I also stopped drinking 2.5 years ago. And I used to always around 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, when I would start making dinner, I would pour myself a glass of wine. And that kind of showed that the day was ending. And when I stopped drinking, I started replacing that with short walks. Just go for a 10-minute walk around the block or 20-minute walk around the block. I used to do it a lot with my neighbor. Now, unfortunately, she moved away. But, um, and I needed that, to the point that my husband would say sometimes, why don't you just go for a walk? Because it became my medicine. It became my therapy. Just a simple walk. Or sometimes I'm not there yet with weight training, but I feel very proud of myself that I can lift weights, and that, that I get to do this. I wake up in the morning and I get to choose where I'm going to lift weights or do nothing. And I know for a fact that even if I lift 20 minutes, like now that I'm injured, I broke my ankle, I do nuggets of 20 minutes a few times a week. And that just, it's like the biggest gift I can give myself, because
Absolutely.
it just makes you feel so much better. And I don't have to kill myself. My Pilates class, I go to Pilates, not anymore now because of the injury, but 3 times a week. And it's like a really easy class. I'm always telling you, Claire, oh, it's full of older people. And, like I'm like by far the youngest one, and it's so easy. And then I decide to actually pay attention and
Mhm.
use the right breathing and go as slow as possible. And now I'm like, this is really hard. This is actually not easy at all. Just because I'm not breaking a sweat and I'm not burning 500 calories in an hour doesn't mean it's not hard. If I've become much more present. And when she says, I don't know, lift your leg, I actually physically see my muscles moving, and it makes everything, yeah, just more real and just more challenging and just better.
Honestly, you have just nailed something on the head there, is where I think a lot of women are going wrong. So number one that you pointed out is like that punishing side, but number two, constantly feeling that you have to burn calories. That is not what most people need. You need that mind muscle connection, that strength, maybe me watching you do Pilates also inspired me because now I do Pilates.
There you
But
go.
you have that, you are strong, like a capital letters strong, but also like the Pilates side of things, when you actually embrace it and you have that mind muscle connection, the strength and control that you build there. And then I'm just going to translate that into strength as well, because they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They're two beautiful things together, but it's nice to see. And I think this is, if anyone takes anything away, I mean, there's lots of things to take away from this podcast, but is that workouts are definitely not there to burn calories. I mean, your Apple Watches are so inaccurate anyway, that's so pointless looking at that. But they are there to build that mind muscle connection. They're to give you your time by yourself that you've just pointed out. And that's what builds strength. That's what changes bodies. And that's what changes relationships with, I think, the gym. Because even me, when I've been in the gym coaching women, everyone thinks it's about burn, burn, burn. But similarly with Pilates, I think every single person, when I'm watching form reviews, slow it down, tighten up.
Yeah.
I think you'll know you've had enough from me. Like,
Yeah.
slow it
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
control, feel that muscle. If we're not feeling the muscle, we're not working it. And the more we can focus on this, the better results we'll be getting.
Well, 100%. 100%. And another thing that has changed for me is about exercise is that, as you know, Claire, I am obsessed with mental aging, like
Yeah.
the health of aging, like mentally aging well.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had Alzheimer's, my grandma had Alzheimer's, so I'm terrified of it. But although I'm never going to get Alzheimer's because I'm doing everything that I have to do, I've also read a lot of research on how exercises really, really help the brain,
Yes.
physical exercises. So like getting strong quads helps the brain. Having more muscle helps the brain. So every time I'm doing hard squats, I tell myself I'm doing this for my brain. Doing this for my memory. I'm doing this. So the why that has completely changed. I'm not doing this to have leaner legs. I'm doing this to have stronger legs, because the stronger legs I have, the better I'm going to have of a brain. So it's all linked, and it just makes me feel proud. And another thing I did was I started thanking my body. But I
Yeah.
mean, I look ridiculous, but I don't care. I physically touch after doing a hard training or a hard Peloton class or something. I'll touch my legs and I'll say thank you. Thank you for doing this for me. I'll touch my arms, saying I'm so lucky to have these strong arms. This gratitude has changed a lot around me as well when it comes to myself and my body. And I guess it's part of self love and self respect, right? Just being so grateful that I have all this, that like now I broke my ankle, and I keep on saying, I'm so sorry. I was in a hurry going down the stairs. to look for my credit card to buy a cream at 50% off. I'm so sorry I did that to you because now I can't walk as well, but you're healing so well. So just find gratitude and be kind to yourself because it is the longest relationship we'll ever have in our own body. And it's really the only one we have. And, I feel a bit, I love dogs, as you know. I have my two dogs. I love them. And what I love about them is that this unconditional love they have for me. Every time they're happy to see me. And now I see my body like that. Like my body will do whatever I tell it to do. So treat it kindly because if not, it will one day say, hey, enough. And I don't want that.
Mm-hmm. I
I
think
don't
that's
want that.
such a contrast from the beginning because you
I
were
know.
probably at the beginning being like, gosh, stupid body, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You should be hitting this. Versus, oh, thank you so much for being here to take me on this bike. Thank you for helping me get up when I need to. And you nailed it on the head. This is the longest relationship you will ever have with
Ever.
anyone, with yourself. And it's normally the worst. But I love that one. I think gratitude goes a hell of a lot of way. And it probably comes from a few things, but I just want to do one point before I shift the conversation.
Yeah.
I think at least that. But it's just with you doing reformer and Pilates, it's brain training as well when you're doing that. When you're saying it's for your brain, like literally trying to coordinate hands
Yeah.
out, legs out, tabletop, in, do this. Your brain has to be switched on, like
100%.
practically switched on. So it's like a little brain training day as well when you go there. But I love everything you say.
And
And
the
as I,
breathing, Claire, the
oh,
breathing. Inhale on the exhale on the, and then they switch up the breathing. I'm like, wait, I just got that breathing right. Now you want me to do the opposite. It's constantly. So it's much more tiring than we think. And
I know.
yeah, it's good.
I don't know if you have done this in your reformer, but have you used the poles in
Oh, it's
reformer?
horrible. It's horrible. You know what? Here in
Oh,
South Africa, they don't call them poles. They call them stokkie, which is like, I
uh-huh.
guess, an Afrikaans way. And one of my teachers decided to do the month of September, call it Stokkie September. Every class had poles, every class. And it was horrible. Like people were just not coming to class anymore because it was so difficult. And here you are, all you're doing is just holding a pole and moving slowly. And it's torture. It's torture. After a while, you're like, I'd rather just lift 20-kilo dumbbells right now than do this. It's horrible, but it's so effective.
Agree on everything you just said. Agreed. But I had my first experience with poles the other week, and that was an exercise. I
It
was like,
is.
oh, it is
It
so
is.
hard, but so good at the same time.
A hundred
So
percent.
moving on from there, what I was just with you saying about thanking your body and the gratitude side of things, just want to talk quickly about like your relationship with your body, because as we've kind of seen, there was a lot of punishment going on with exercise. I think there was a lot of like earning food as well, which came from
Yeah.
exercise. And I would say we didn't have a great relationship, but this time, probably about this time last year, we sat on a call together and we just spoke, I think maybe for 2 hours, maybe an hour,
Could
on
be. Yeah.
your body and actually trying to look at it as a friend. And I don't know what happened, but from that moment onwards, that's definitely when mindset started to change towards yourself, your body, how you looked at yourself, how you wanted to treat yourself as well.
Yes, 100%. I remember it was about a year ago. And that's when I said, enough, enough. I can't continue, again, for lack of words, punishing myself. I can't continue treating myself with this. It's a form of disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, it's listening to, you have to do this and you should be doing that. And no, I shouldn't. What I need to do is listen to my body and respect when it's tired. That's another thing. Oh my God, take a rest day? Are you freaking kidding me? Why would I ever rest? No, no, when you rest, you grow, you become stronger. It's changed. Everything's changed. Like now also with this injury, I had told myself I'm gonna, because I can't do any cardio, I can't do much walking at all. Okay, I'll do these nuggets every day. And then I said to myself, hey man, snap out of it. You're not gonna do it every day. Why would you do something every day that you need to rest if you want it to get better? And I feel zero guilt now when I rest. On the contrary, it's like I feel what a privilege. What a
Mhm.
privilege that you're resting, you know? I'm not going to get, I'm not going to lose my muscle because I rest even a week, you
Yeah,
know? It's all good. Are you doing deep breathing exercises? Are you sleeping? There is so much more that is included in the wheel of life, really, and of health, and of wellness, let's say. You can't again, you can't use exercise as a tool, the only tool to get to lose weight. You can't also use only nutrition as a tool to only lose weight. It's a whole thing. There's a reason why we're made of so many different parts. And if you can't fix them all, or if you can't work on all of them and see them as in a holistic way, then it's really hard, because that's what I was doing before I met you. I was just focusing on things that I was just really trying to punish myself for so many different things. And I wasn't looking at my sleep. I wasn't looking at my rest. I wasn't looking at my stress levels, at my mental health, at my any kind of anxiety. I'm not an anxious person in general, but I do realize now that I've calmed down how anxious I can get about certain things. And for
yeah,
what?
absolutely. And
So,
it's
yeah.
nice to be in that place. Weirdly enough, I was right before you even said it. I put down rest question mark,
Yeah. Oh, there you
because
go.
I honestly think, for me personally, rest is productive. But as a society, I think we look at rest being super unproductive. We're not
Completely.
doing something,
Completely.
but
Completely.
it's the contrary. Like, we don't grow in the gym, we grow when we rest, and if we're
Exactly.
never resting, how can we solve things that are going on? If we're not resting, we're probably not sleeping great. If we're not having downtime, we're probably not like using our mindset enough to change the things that we need to. Therefore, particularly when we started, Vanessa, rest was not in your vocabulary
Not
at
at
all.
all. Not at
and
all.
and now it's become, it's a part of your life now. It's almost, if your body is asking for it, you know that it needs rest.
Exactly. Exactly. And I guess I should have been warned when I would, like, when I hurt my back and I went to the doctor, or when I would go to get a checkup or something, and the doctor would say, "So, what do you do any physical exercise?" Like, well, let me tell you everything I do. And I was like, look at me. Look at me. I do 550 hours of exercise every day and I'm strong. Oh yeah, everything hurts, but I'm strong.
So
And I
true.
should have heard my chiropractor, who's a genius, say, "Yeah, that's too much. You need to stop." What do you mean I have to stop? Yeah, you can't do that anymore. If you want to heal, you can't do that anymore, because the more you do it, the worse you're going to get. Oh, okay. And at first I kept on telling myself, yeah, they don't know. Look at him. He's like 150 years old. What would he know? I know better. And all. No, man, it's, you said something before. You said people say weight loss or getting fit is easy. It's not that simple. It's not that complicated. You just have to eat well and move more, and calories in and calories out, and the movement. And all. Actually, you know what? It's not that easy. It's simple. The concept is simple,
Yes.
but it's not easy, because if it were easy, we would all be doing it super easily. It's not. And what's not easy also is that it's not one size fits all. It really isn't.
Yes. It
What works for me might not work for Dallas or for Alana or for VJ. Everyone needs to do. I would never do a high rocks in my life. Never. What for? For me, but I'm in total admiration of y'all that do it. Maybe someone says, I don't want to do Pilates. That's boring as hell. I'm like, well, it's part of my life and I love it. And we're all different. So we must find what feeds us as humans, and us for our own body, what kind of exercise, what, fits us, not what is. The only thing I agree with you is strength training, strength training, strength training. I don't
Please do.
like it, but it's important for everyone at any level.
And I fully agree and support what you just said. And I think so many of us just try and fit in with something because that's the norm. Very much right now, it's high rocks. Everyone's doing high rocks. Me personally, I'm just going to add this in. I tried high rocks training for a good 8 months and it just wasn't working with my body. I never felt great. I actually felt
Ah, yeah.
awful. And I was only doing it because some of my clients wanted to do it. I kind of felt a little bit pressured. Maybe we should be. And weirdly enough, I've come back to strength training and Pilates. And that's just who I am. And I'm okay with that. I like being that person. But I sometimes
Perfect.
think people try and fit the mold of like, oh, well, everyone's doing this, so I need to do that, rather than thinking, what do I actually enjoy? How can I find what pleases me? Because you know what? If you're a yoga gal, gosh, you're strong. You know what I mean? It's insane. If you're a Pilates girl, God, you're also strong. If you're a strength girl, that's awesome. And if you like high rocks, that is awesome for you too. But we don't have to force our way or what society is doing onto everyone. We need to find our way. And that's something like all the women I work with are so different. Everybody
Yeah.
has different goals, but equally everybody's open to hearing what someone else is doing and cheering them on, and also going, that's fine, but that's not for me.
Yeah, thank you, but no thank you. And good for you. You go do that. I'll go do my own thing. And that's the beauty of it, you know. It's there is something for everyone out there. And we're all in different phases of life. I mean, I don't know everyone else's age, but I started, that's another big change. I started HRT. I'm in menopause now. That's been a big change. And you know, your body all of a sudden feels really different.
Yeah,
And so what works for you, you know, you're what, 35? What works
yeah,
for you definitely does not work for me anymore. You know, intermittent fasting for men works very well. For women when they're younger, sure, but my age, it's detrimental to our health. So I mean, but whatever, does it work for you? Sure, then go ahead and do it. You know?
that's it. And that's another thing as well, is as we age, often we need to be doing less rather
Hmm.
than more. But
Yeah.
again, it comes down to person dependent. If you've been training for years the way you've been training, then the likelihood is you're going to be fine. But if you have never trained in your life, then you probably need to start somewhere. And it's exactly as you say, Vanessa. It's just about working with where you're at. Now, one thing Vanessa and I do have in common, though, is we both love the Peloton.
Oh yes, we do love the
We
Peloton. We
talk about
don't
it a
like
lot.
Dennis very much, but we do love the Peloton.
We do love Matt. We
Oh,
do
absolutely, Matt.
love Ali Love
I
as
love
well.
Christian. I love Christian Vandeveld. I don't know about you, but I love that professional guy. He's fantastic. But
He
yeah,
is. I'm firmly fixed still on the power zones and endurance training with Matt, but it is
but he is. But what's his name? Christian Vandeveld is 100% power zone.
I know I need you know what it is. I'm a creature of habit. So once I find someone and I just need
Yeah,
to take the jump, and once I do one, I know I'll love it. But for some reason I'm that person that's like, I'm gonna follow,
yeah.
I'm gonna do
I
that.
know.
I'm
I
gonna
was
do
like
that.
you too. I know. I was like you too. But then I decided, you know what? Keep an open mind. Let's see. And
That's
then, you
it.
know, if you don't like it, you never have to go back.
So true. And as well, another thing with the Peloton that you do is the meditations.
Oh yes, I do. I do. I do. I try to do every day. Now that's my new habit. Well, it was before. And then again, it was like, I have to do it. And I remember it's like, okay, now I'm just going to sit and meditate because I haven't done it yet. And I would be like, you know, exactly. And now it's like, okay, you know what? I haven't had my 10 minutes. And that's so, you so kindly changed it to daily meditation because instead of saying it has to be 10 minutes, sometimes it's 2 or 3 times a day for a few minutes. Sometimes it's early in the morning. Sometimes it's during in the middle of the day. And or sometimes I do a guided meditation with Peloton. And sometimes I just do deep breathing by myself and a few mantras that I've learned along the way, but 100% of the time, I feel better after meditation. 100% of the day. And I
And
will tell you one other thing. My husband told me the other day, he started just meditation and it's just deep breathing. He started doing this when we moved to South Africa almost 4 years ago. And just last week, he told me I would never have been able to do the job I'm doing here if I wasn't doing this meditation. And he meditates around 40 minutes a day, just
oh,
deep breathing in the morning and in the evening.
good on him.
Just get it done. And it just changes it. I've seen the change in him and it changes the way you react to stress.
Oh, absolutely. It just like regulates your body. But isn't do you not find these habits? Definitely me as a coach, I find like I say these things to people and it's like brush it off and on with their day. And it's almost like the little things like meditation, breath work actually add so much to your life. And I mean, you don't have to sit and for 15 minutes. You can just start by doing some breath work that maybe takes 20 seconds and build up from there. But these things have huge impacts, particularly on even like your relationship with exercise, your body, your mood, everything. But people are often very quick to disregard them.
Oh, 100%. Because you know why? Because you cannot see the
Yes,
change. And you
very.
must use a lot of consistency to actually start feeling the change. But again, having seen my husband these last 4 years, he's a different person. But it's been 4 years of consistently doing this basically every single day, you know? And you say, "Oh, I don't have that kind of time." Yes, you do.
Always.
You have you stand, you're driving, you're in a traffic jam. You can do some deep breathing 5 times, not even 5 minutes. I'm saying 5 breaths. You're always going to breathe anyway. Sometimes just be a bit conscious of it. That's
Oh,
one thing that I've become really like, not judgmental, because that's a bit of a harsh word, but people that say, I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for meditation. Well, you kind of do. You're just not making the time for it, you know? And that's something I also, for myself, I remember when you told me you need to have discipline, because that's what you rely on when motivation isn't there. And once you have that discipline to do those little things, those tiny things for oneself, or
mhm.
sitting calmly, just sitting
Yeah.
just a few minutes, that is so positive and it's so good for you. But we don't do it because, well, you don't see it. It's not like a muscle that you can
Mhm.
see. It's not like something that you can measure, but you will definitely feel it in the long run. You just have to be consistent.
Yeah, it's very subjective as well, which
Yeah,
makes it difficult to measure. And one of the things, just for everyone listening, the habit base, we do always say something is better than nothing.
always.
Therefore, time wise, if you only have 30 seconds to do something, well, let's do something in those 30 seconds. And it can be the same for breath work. It could be the same for, well, actually, I'm just going to do a few squats, or I'm just going to get a 5 minute walk, or I'm just going to step outside. There's always something we can do with the time available. And I almost think the most unhelpful thing we can do to ourselves is say, well, I just don't have time. So we fall into that all or nothing mindset where I'm only going to do this
Exactly.
project. But if we can learn that something is better than nothing, and sometimes just showing up is the best that we can do, that's when habits are built. And that's when we can then practice them consistently. It doesn't matter how long for, but as long as we're trying every single day with one thing, just one thing,
One
that's
thing.
when change starts to happen.
100%. And what you just said triggered a thought. What you just said, the all or nothing. And I think that that's the mentality I was in when I met you. It was, I'm either going to do it perfectly. Remember when we had to start counting calories? Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. And tracking food. That drove me nuts. I did it for almost a year. And then one day I said, okay, I've had enough, because now I know I don't need this anymore. And I think I've been doing great without it. But it was all like, it has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, then, oh wait, it's not perfect. Well, now I'm just going to have the whole bar of chocolate because I messed up anyway. And that all or nothing has been something that all my life I would do. Like, I'm going to go run for an hour. I hate running. I'm just going to go run for an hour. You do it for a week, you do it for 2 weeks, and it's like, why would you continue? Whereas if I can start with a 10-minute walk, I can do a 10-minute walk. I can do that every day, or I can do it 5 times a day, 5 times a week. It's the all or nothing that sets us up for failure.
Definitely.
Every single time.
And this is exactly where, again, people are very different. But one of the things you were saying about even the meditation, changing it from 10 minutes to daily, it's sometimes the biggest thing we do at Habit Base is learning flexibility. So it's finding the best approach for things for you. And sometimes it is specific metrics because you need that in the beginning. But then actually you realize, I can't do this in real life. So I need to have a broader scale. Then it's actually, as you've just said, just showing up and doing these things. And
Yeah.
one of the things, just going back to, I was laughing when you were saying about the calories, but it brings us to a conversation that we had just the other day on intuitive, and I do this with quotations, whereby
Yeah.
although the calorie tracking was a bit laborious and all or nothing, it maybe did provide a bit of structure, which then led you now to being pretty intentional with your food choices.
You just took the words out of my mouth. It's exactly what I was going to say. It was a pain in the ass. And I remember the judgment. I remember when I went for the first time to Switzerland to visit my friends. And there I was taking pictures of my food so that I could then put it in the thing, and asking the chef, how many grams of chicken is in that chicken that you just served me? Oh, it's 200. Okay, thank you. And I had friends that said, oh my God, you're pathetic. I'm like, just, you know, this is there's magic to this madness. Just let me go. I know what I'm doing. And I would get comments later like, "Oh, are you still tracking?" I mean, these friends are no longer really friends, but are you still tracking? Or people would say, "Wow, I'm in real admiration. That would be really difficult for me to do." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not easy because you're always thinking about it and you're always writing and you're all, but that's what led me to today. That's what I was telling you the other day.
Mhm.
I always start by thinking, okay, what's my protein? I go to a restaurant. What's my protein? Okay, I'm going to have chicken today, or I'm going to have salmon today. All right, then what's my fiber? What's my, like non-starchy carb or whatever? And that I would have never done that without being having the hassle of tracking and learning about food and about proper what a proper plate of food looks like for almost a year. Never.
So you gotta
Again, if it were easy, we would all be doing it. It's not easy. It's not easy.
ah,
It's simple, but it's not easy.
absolutely. And you've got to start at the beginning. You've
Yeah.
got to start with the basics so then you can
Yeah.
build
Yeah.
yourself up to get to the
Yeah.
point where you just live a life and never have to go back to dieting. Because if it didn't work and you had to go back, it didn't work the first time, you know? You gotta
Exactly.
learn.
Exactly.
Exactly as you pointed out, Vanessa, is it's not easy, but behavior change is hard. And a lot of the
Yeah.
time, even though we're just talking about nutrition and movement mindset, it's changing our behaviors and habits, which is really
Yeah.
difficult. So I think to end, Vanessa, because I've asked you none of the questions that I actually wrote down or sent you, it's gonna
Sorry. I tend to do that with you. I'm so sorry.
I knew it was going to. When I was so effortless, I was like sending Vanessa questions. I was like, we're just going to have a great conversation, exactly as you did. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the last
Yeah.
thing to say is, what advice would you give to a woman who is listening to this and maybe feels very heavily in that dieting phase, like wants to hit a specific weight, wants to focus on exercise? What would you say to her right now, based on the position that you're in?
So I think I'm going to agree with Alana. Go
Mm-hmm.
back to your why and make sure that your why is a real why. I think that um, we are we very easily trick ourselves into believing that we want something, but that's not what we really want. What do you really want in life? Do you want to fit into a specific size? Really? Is that what you really want? Or is that something that's some sort of trauma that you haven't figured out yet? What do you really want for yourself? And look at yourself and be grateful that you, first of all, that you're even alive, that you even have the choice of telling yourself, I want to change, I need to change. And listen to yourself, because if you sit down and you actually ask yourself completely unapologetic questions about who you are and what you want in life and why you want what you want, then you become more humble and you let yourself be led by someone as professional and as kind as you. But if you think, if your goals are not, if your if your goals are not authentic enough or not true enough, then you're just going to be keep on tricking yourself.
Oh,
So just
100%.
be kind to yourself, and stop listening to people say you should be doing this, or I've tried this, you should do this. No, man, do yourself. You do you. Start learning who you are. Ask yourself the right questions. Dig deep. It's hard, huh? It's hard because sometimes we see things we don't want to see. But you know what? Those things that you don't want to see are part of who you are and are part of how you got to where you are. All the diets I've done got me to you, Claire, because one day I said, that's enough. I've had enough. I need a change. If I wouldn't have had that, I would have never looked for help. My sister has not dieted one day in her life, not once. She hasn't tried to lose it. She maybe weighs herself once a year when she goes to the GP. And she's always told me, Vani, do whatever it is that you need for yourself. We grew up completely different in the same household, as complete different relationship to food. But she's takes care of herself with what she needs. And I'm doing now what I need for myself. And so if you're still in a whole diet situation, and that you need to do the latest fad, high protein, low carbs, high fat, low this, you know what? Stop. Stop and listen to your body and ask yourself, what is it that you want and why? That's what I would say. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Mic dropping out. Um, that was beautiful advice. Literally, I'm
Thank you.
like, right, I'm not going to say anything. I want to say 1,000 things, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to.
Thank you.
No, it was
Thank you.
beautiful. And, sitting here talking with you, reminiscing, I think everyone can see why I love coaching you. We have great conversations. But I
Thank
think
you.
what words of wisdom you have given. Honestly, I think there's so many strong nuggets in here that I hope women really listen to, particularly if you're feeling a bit lost in that diet culture. You're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. You don't know why you're not sustaining it, or you're just being so critical and harsh towards yourself on a journey. I think you eloquently put everything and articulated it so well. So I really hope everyone enjoys listening to this. And I will ask you one more
Thank
thing.
you.
Anything else that you would like to add, Vanessa, to the end of this?
Yes, yes, I just thought of something. I think that if you must trust yourself, which is a really difficult thing to do. It's much easier. It's crazy how much trust we put on other people than on ourselves. But if you can't trust yourself because you don't know how, again, intuition, mindfulness, self-awareness, those are big words and they're difficult words. Um, if you can't trust yourself, then trust Claire. Because at the end of the day, if you need someone to hold your hand, you're really the person to do it. That's 100%. And I've met a lot of Claires, but there's only one like you, for sure, 100%. And I'm not saying this because it's your podcast. I really believe it. So it's a
But
privilege and an honor to be part of your crew and to know all these wonderful women, but also to be your client and your friend. So thank you
oh,
for everything.
I'm like, it make me cry.
Oh, don't
But
cry. We got
but
makeup on, remember?
I know, we've done her hair as well. But no, seriously,
Exactly.
those words mean a lot. But exactly, I think, as you said, sometimes it's very difficult to trust ourselves. And we need someone else to be that cheerleader, that person to take us forward until you can step into it. And which,
Exactly.
I'm sitting, well, standing, I'm sitting here right now, which you have done so perfectly.
Okay.
You've really stepped into that trust. And as I say, I'm just so lucky I got to meet you and we get to do this journey together. And it is honestly my favorite
100%.
thing watching women just grow into, I'm like, grow into the person they should be. But honestly, it is just like that. And I just think this has been such a beautiful podcast. I'm like, I just want to put it out and I'm like, I want everyone to listen to this because it's so
Wonderful.
nice to just hear a different view on a journey that's not just, oh yeah, I just had to eat my calories and do this. And I know I talk about that a lot, but that's the first step. And we grow into so much more. So I appreciate you for doing this, Vanessa. I
Thank
just
you.
love you in general.
Thank
And I
you.
honestly cannot wait for everyone to hear this. I feel like I'm going to be sending it out to everyone. But thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, if you have been listening. Make sure if you, wherever you listen, like drop a comment. We always love to hear comments. We love to hear everything.
Yes, yes,
Always
yes.
good feedback. And of course, if anyone has any questions or anything, shoot them over. This is what we're here for. But lastly, Vanessa, thank you so much. I'm giving you a big
Thank you.
hug from
Thank
Scotland.
you. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the love. Lots to everyone. And have a wonderful evening. Thank you.